lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people frequently experience violence directed toward their sexuality or gender identity. This violence may be enacted by the state, as in laws prescribing punishment for homosexual acts, or by individuals. It may be psychological or physical and motivated by biphobia, gayphobia, homophobia, lesbophobia, and transphobia. Influencing factors may be cultural, religious, or political mores and biases. Currently, homosexual acts are legal in almost all Western countries, and in many of these countries violence against LGBT people is classified as a hate crime. Outside the West, many countries are deemed potentially dangerous to their LGBT population due to both discriminatory legislation and threats of violence. These include countries where the dominant religion is Islam, most African countries except South Africa, most Asian countries other than Israel, Japan, Taiwan, Thailand and the Philippines, and some former communist countries such as Russia, Poland, Serbia, Albania, Kosovo, Montenegro and Bosnia and Herzegovina. Such violence is often associated with religious condemnation of homosexuality or conservative social attitudes that portray homosexuality as an illness or a character flaw. In Europe, the European Union's Employment Equality Framework Directive and Charter of Fundamental Rights offer some protection against sexuality-based discrimination. Historically, state-sanctioned persecution of homosexuals was mostly limited to male homosexuality, termed sodomy. During the medieval and early modern period, the penalty for sodomy was usually death. During the modern period in the Western world, the penalty was usually a fine or imprisonment. There was a drop in locations where homosexual acts remained illegal from 2009 when there were 80 countries worldwide with 5 carrying the death penalty to 2016 when 72 countries criminalized consensual sexual acts between adults of the same sex. Brazil, a country with LGBT rights protections and legal same-sex marriage, is reported to have the world's highest LGBT murder rate, with more than 380 murders in 2017 alone, an increase of 30% compared to 2016. This is usually not considered a hate crime in Brazil but a misinterpretation of skewed data, resulting from relatively higher crime rates in the country in general when compared to world averages, rather than the LGBT population being a specific target. In some countries, 85% of LGBT students experience homophobic and transphobic violence in school, and 45% of transgender students drop out of school. An early law against sexual intercourse between men is recorded in Leviticus by the Hebrew people, prescribing the death penalty. A violent law regarding homosexual intercourse is prescribed in the Middle Assyrian law codes turn him into a eunuch. In the account given in Tacitus Germania, the death penalty was reserved for 2 kinds of capital offenses. Military treason or desertion was punished by hanging, and so was moral infamy. Gordon translates corpore infames as unnatural prostitutes. Tacitus refers to male homosexuality. See David F. Greenberg, The Construction of Homosexuality, p. 242f. Scholarship compares the later Germanic concept of Old Norse argr, langobartakarga, which combines the meanings effeminate, cowardly, homosexual. See Jan Pavel, Who Were the Hittite Hercules Pains? In E. Etter, O. P. Rossi, Walter de Gruyter, 1986, p. 154. Laws and codes prohibiting homosexual practice were in force in Europe from the 4th to the 20th centuries. In Republican Rome, the poorly attested Lex Scantania penalized an adult male for committing a sex crime made homosexuals a scapegoat for problems such as famines, earthquakes, and pestilences. During the Middle Ages, the Kingdom of France and the city of Florence also instated the death penalty. In Florence, a young boy named Giovanni di Giovanni was also burned alive for attempting to seduce the son of a nobleman. In England, the Buggery Act of 1533 made sodomy and bestiality punishable by death. This act was superseded in 1828, but sodomy remained punishable by death under the new act until 1861. although the last executions were in 1835. In 17th century Malta, Scottish voyager and author William Lithgow, writing in his diary in March 1616, claims a Spanish soldier and a Maltese teenage boy were publicly burned to ashes for confessing to have practiced sodomy together. To escape this fate, Lithgow further claimed that 100 burdussos sailed for Sicily the following day. In Nazi Germany and occupied Europe, homosexuals were among the groups targeted by the Holocaust. As of August 2020, 69 countries criminalize consensual sexual acts between adults of the same sex. They are punishable by death in 9 countries. Countries where homosexual acts are criminalized but not punished by death. By region, include Africa, Asia, America, Pacific Islands, Afghanistan, where such acts remain punishable.